Oh,
Hello.
hello.
How's it going, bud?
It's good. It's good. How are you?
Good, doing my thing, living
That's
life.
good. I sound fine on my end.
Yep, you're all good.
Cool. Cool.
A little bit, but you are all good. Okay, cool. Um, Alrighty, let us what did you put down here? Improving my ability to VOD review, how to identify mistakes and retain. Gotcha. Okay, so what made you want to get coaching, friend?
Um, I've reached my point as a player where I'm having a difficult time finding out what my problems are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like help in identifying like how to identify what are considered mistakes and I have a problem distinguishing like certain things like between for an example something like playing cautious and playing like hesitant, things like that. So whenever I'm looking over like my own VODs, I have a difficult time distinguishing those kind of things and what is a mistake and what isn't. So I want to learn how to identify like my problems so I can create solutions or start working on them.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, the simplest form of finding mistakes in play is asking yourself just, why did I get hit?
Hmm.
And it's very simple of just like, did they cause it or did I cause it? And I forget if we talked about that before, but that's really the biggest number one thing is being aware of like if you're doing too much and you're getting hit because of it, especially with a character like yours, so you have to be a little bit more intricate with where you place certain actions, right? Because they're
Hmm.
slow. So with that, you have to keep in mind like when it's your turn actually and when it's their turn, which is more like a lot of the time in some way, or if it's nobody's turn, it's just kind of open-ended in that moment. Sense.
Hmm.
And identifying that in the moment can be really hard to do, but it's something that you can reflect on and then going forward look at like preventative measures and stuff like that, and that's like positioning, spacing, all that kind of stuff, and like having an awareness of burst range is like the biggest thing. So if you're like inside Pikachu's burst range and you jump, you get hit, it's 100% your fault.
Yeah, and that's something that
Mm-hmm.
we've mentioned on like the brief about like because I do understand like
Mm-hmm.
most characters like burst ranges, but my answer was wrong. Like how I would try to do something like intercept dash attacks and things like
Yes.
that.
Yep.
So like I do acknowledge where a character space is, but there's a lot of guessing involved.
Mm-hmm.
So well, the first VOD that I sent you is the one that I want to go over. Is 5 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's me versus Cola Snake.
Okay.
So. Uh, it's something that I want to go over because I know personally that Snake is the character that I struggle with the most.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the main one I want to go over, and then if we have extra time, I do have backups for things that we can go over.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this then, see what you're doing, and then we'll go from there. All right.
All right, cool, thank you. This is
Mm-hmm.
also like something that like is recent, so it shows off what my play looks like,
Yeah.
regardless of Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. There's a really funny habit that you, Benny, Tyler, like all of you guys in that like kind of circle all do this.
Hmm.
And it's really, really
What?
funny. Whenever you throw somebody and you know that there's not like a combo after it, you roll into them. And I have no idea why you guys do
Did
that.
that happen?
That literally just happened. Watch. Because you forward throw him and then you roll. And this is like a really common thing that players do because they just want to get closer to their opponent in some
Hmm.
way. And whether it's a misinput or you wanted to dash it or anything like that, you don't even need to do any of that, because what you can do in this moment is you forward them and you just walk forward,
Hmm.
because
I,
in that moment he can't hit you.
if I can intervene, the reason why I felt like forward rolling there is because I saw the grenade on top of me, so I wanted to get out of there,
Yeah, and
like
that's
with
yeah.
invincibility.
But what you have to keep in mind is like when you did it so much later than the explosion that
Hmm.
you were like mashing that roll.
Okay.
And even then, it's like the grenade had already been out way long enough that like that's something we talked about when we played a couple weeks ago. Is like
Hmm.
you yourself have to get better at like grenade timers and like be
Yeah.
alert, because you are horrified of them. I feel like you
Yeah.
always think they're about to explode and you don't actually know it.
Yeah.
And that's like a very common thing with most players when they struggle against Snake. But it's just like one of those things you gotta sit there and be like 1, 2,
I
boom.
need to know.
Yeah, you have to know, and like that's the big thing. Because if you can be comfortable around grenade, it's a non-factor, because it's still good, but it doesn't make you insta lose anymore.
Right.
That makes sense. because you had a really good situation that you could have gone a reset and you could have kept advantage state, but you like panicked and it just created this weird little scramble for you because you were scared of a grenade. By chance, were you just watching my lesson with Raven King or no?
I had it on in the background
Okay.
while I was playing with prospects, so like I heard a bunch of it.
So one of the things that I think I was talking about with him, and I think would be really, really valuable for you, is I think a big part of your play is that you rely on Nair a lot. And I think that's one of the flaws in your play, is that you're really good at Nair combos, but you lean on it so hard that when you're unsure how to hit people, like your primary option is just like looking for Nair and just hoping that you hit them with Nair, right? And what I want you to do is practice just swatting people away. And this is something that I think like Nico, for example, is really, really like better at than like anybody else, except maybe like Kome. And I think this is one of the variables that makes them just about pretty much better than every other Shulk, pretty much.
Yeah.
Is like, and this is something I briefly talked to you about when we played, is like, you just want to swap people away. You just have to win neutral. It doesn't matter how you do it, because your character is so good at resetting people, even when it's Snake. Because if he's going to pull nade, like I showed you, it's like, if he doesn't have jump or anything like that, or if he does it like at a up B, he's stuck. You get to grab him for free and you play off of that, right?
Yeah.
If he's gonna land with a move, your moves can beat his moves. He can't hit your shield either. You have the out to that, right? If he's gonna try to land on, you can just up tilt or F tilt him or anything like that, or up B him, or like you're really good at getting like pivot F smash. You use that to your advantage, right? In those resets, and it's gonna be easier for you to swat someone away. And a lot of these interactions, I want you to see these nairs. Imagine if all these nairs you do were replaced with forward airs, you would be hitting him. And you like finally did one forward air and then you like didn't feel it. And I just want you to like, I want you to just forward air and just like hit him and just reset. Because a lot of the times you end up, you're throwing out so many nairs that when you actually hit it, you're like, oh my God, I hit that nair. And you're just not ready for it. And like part of that's why it's harder to hit confirm, right? But it's also like, you're doing it so much out of like, just you're doing it for filler.
Like an autopilot,
exactly.
essentially.
You're autopiloting Nair. And like, this is a great example of that. And like, this is probably something that like, I've seen you do this offline too, where you hit this and you're like, you hit this Nair and you're like, you jump out of shield and you're like, I have to pick something now. And then you just Monado and you're like, I'm just going to land Monado and see if I can hit him.
Yeah.
And then you don't realize he pulled grenade because you were thinking so much about what you should be doing. In that moment, when you realize like, this is another really important skill to grow, is like being self-aware of hesitation. You will hit people and not react. And that's totally valid. You're going to hit nairs and be like, oops. But you have to realize it. And when you realize it, what you have to do is switch from that physical pressure of like getting those hits and immediately swap to positional pressure and make them react or like decide what they do in that situation. Because a lot of people will, it puts them in a very uncomfortable situation because there's not a right answer. Where right after you hit this nair, like I'll show you. Because he had no out here. Right here. There's no out anymore. He can drift away from you, but you can move forward and you can catch him. You had jump and you had speed still, right? Or you had at least had jump for sure. So you had that. Also, you landed without any lag because you hit it really well. So, as well as that move has like no lag anyway. So, had you not buffered shield out of fear, you could have kept walking forward and baiting him and applying pressure.
I think because I also I autopilot to the Nair because like there I did it as low as I could because I was anticipating like a shield. And so that's why whenever I hit him, I wasn't ready for it.
Right. But you're doing it so much that it's just like you're kind of like, I think this time he's going to shield. I think this is, and I want you to literally react to it. When you are throwing out a move, you are hit confirming whether it hits somebody, whether it hits their shield, and whether it whiffs. You don't want to assume anything. There are situations where you know, but you can still mess it up, right? So you have to like physically like see it, feel it, whatever that is that works for you, as well as like your moves have like pretty good hit lag on them. So I personally think it's very easy to hit confirm off of them. And I want you to like use that to your advantage as well. Like see, even like here where you get this advantage, say, and you like autopilot with the nair because you don't know what to do next. And all you have to do is like right here, you hit this fair, and then you just corner trap him. You just move forward a little bit because he can't interact with you because he's facing you. And if he tries to interact with you, you just hit him again. Which is F tilt, up tilt, F smash, whatever, grab. Doesn't matter.
What did I do after this?
You jump and you nair. Because you didn't, you just wanted to cover space.
Yeah.
and you're trying to like, you were kind of like chasing him, and I want you to just pressure, let him choose what to do in this situation. Right now, you're getting resets out of like luck and like reads, which is like good that you're confidently able to read people. But in situations like this, you're just like going and going and going. And if you look at him, watch how he gets this up tilt, where he gets hit here and he lands, and he hits you, and he just walks forward because he knows that one, you can't shield anymore, and when he sees that you jump, he just holds into you and then just gets this up tilt because he just runs towards you because he knows that he can just win the trade, and you can do the same thing. Just watch this. You whiff, and then he just runs toward you. Because he knows, if you challenge me, you die. That's it. And that's the same kind of thing that you can do to people. And it's even easier for you to do it in some ways, because you have a sword.
So, I have a question.
Yep.
For that scenario, when he did it to me, what should I have done?
You just have to full drift away and not throw out a move early.
Okay.
You guess throwing the move. So, like, I'll point out exactly where the mistake happens. It's right here. You hit him. This is good. And then you overextend a little bit here. So after that fair, you just need to full bait him, and then you guessed after that you dashed back. So, did I ever teach you what a reactionary window is?
No, I don't think
Okay.
you told me directly.
Okay, so a reactionary window is where you give up space to get space. So what you do is you retreat just within or just outside their burst range, and then react to what they do as a response to that, and then you decide what to do, whether that is interact or not interact. So in this moment, your positioning was really good, but the action post retreating was bad, and I'll explain it. So what you would do here after you get this hit. So right here, you hit him, and then this whole reset. So you jump back with this fair. Then when you commit to like jumping back or dashing back, that you just have to keep holding away from him and see what he does, because he has a big enough burst range where he can catch you. But if he tried to like dash attack or something there, you can try to air dodge, you can try to hit him, or if he tries to run at you like this, then you could have fared again, like with confidence instead of out of fear. That makes sense?
So, are you saying that I should have backed up more before I did that, or when I did it, that I should have like done it more retreating?
Both.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Because you want to make him have to reach as far as possible, and you have this like big space that you can just control. So it's like you can afford to give up a little bit extra if you, because you anticipated that he was going to challenge you. You had the right idea and tried to swat him out, but you had to wait like a fraction of a second longer before you did it.
Okay, so I just had the wrong answer to. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was the right answer, but you did it too fast.
Right. Okay.
And so like when you dash back and you jump back, it's waiting a split second longer to like really get that confirmation of like, okay, he is coming towards me, bam, and throw it. And like as you do this more and more and more, it gets easier and easier, especially where it's like you already have the right idea where you're anticipating it, and you already know like, if I see him move, I'm gonna forward air. You're not thinking about what am I gonna pick, you're just doing the forward air because you already know the answer.
And I think that's like something that I do have, because I have these concepts in mind and like the ranges in mind and things like that, and I think I just not consistently picking the like wrong answer or doing the wrong answer, but
you're
like
going too fast. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it is. Like the moments like this, like just watch this whole interaction, how you play out. Where like here you go too fast with that nair. You're trying way too hard. Even if you try to full hop now, it's really hard to hit that. Just get the reset. Literally react to how he texts or rolls in that situation, because that's 100 times easier, right? So do that. Then
it's easier to react to.
From here, it's like, okay, this happens. He hits you. You get the reset, and then watch. You just wait. You wait, and you go, oh, cool. You're just pressing buttons, and I hit you. That's what you have to do. When you don't know what to do, you have to stop. When you don't know what to do, like,
let the game tell you what to do.
Yeah, like let the game tell you what to do. The problem is, like, literally 90% of the time when you don't know what to do, you press nair. And you can't do that against a character with a large burst range, or a move that beats moves, or like grenade and stuff like that, because you're stuck. And once you get stuck, you get taken advantage of, or it makes you uncomfortable. You are causing yourself to do that. That makes sense?
Yeah, so that makes me have a question. Is there ever a point where that is okay, or is that something that I want to like just steer away from in
You just
general?
need to get away from it. It's like, you don't want to cover space when you don't know what to do, because you can like safe whiff because your moves have really low lag, right?
Right.
But there's a right way to do that. But if you're just jump in place in nair, whether it's landing or like rising or whatever, you're just stuck in an animation in some capacity, right? So if you're not retreating when you do it with the full intent to bait with doing that, it's bad to do. So like, you know, when you watch like Leo play like Byleth or Byleth's actually great example, where he'll like purposely early frame auto cancel like forward air and back air and then like bait people, right? You can do the same exact thing with nair, where you do like a completely safe width at the edge or outside of their burst range. Actually, yeah, I would actually highly recommend going and watch him win that tournament with Bio the other day. I don't remember what it was. I think it was Juice Box or something like that, or Lunchbox.
I think it was Lunchbox.
Yeah. And go watch those VODs, and like I want you to see how he's positioning himself, how he's baiting, because it's the exact same thing that you have to do. It's the exact same thing.
So another question. Because my character has like slow startup.
Yeah.
A lot of times I want to do things preemptively.
Yeah.
And is that necessarily a wrong thing to do?
Always, yes. There's context where it is good, because there's justification behind it. But when you do it without when you don't know what to do, that's bad, because you're just going off of like a Hail Mary.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
It's like there's a situation. You ever play basketball?
Yeah.
You know you can hit the 2-pointer, but you're like so confident in that you think you can hit the 2-pointer that you try for the 3-pointer and you choke and you just totally like whiff it. That's the idea of what's happening. It's like you know you can stuff them out, right? So wait for when you know you get to stuff them out and get that thing that you know that works, that you're good, like that you have confidence in, instead of like taking that confidence and just throwing it into something else and hoping it works. That makes sense.
Just do what I'm confident in.
Yeah. Stick to what you think is going to work. And if you're going to play someone and the whole game you're just like up tilting and fairing, God bless to do it. Like,
yeah,
that's honestly what I think you should do more, is like try to solve beating people with just like fairs and up tilt and F tilt and just like swatting them away and like resetting them.
Because I don't have an issue like trying to mix up for the sake of it. Like that's why I default to Nair and then like I continuously do it. And then like there'll be opponents who just can't deal with it, and then I can win that way.
Yeah.
And then I find I struggle with players who can just consistently like deal with like that.
Do you want to know why they deal with it?
Because
they just wait. They go second. You have to be comfortable going second more. And so like when we talked the last time, the problem that you have is like you always feel like you have to initiate in some capacity. They have to whiff a move to bait them. Sometimes you can just stand there and you're outside of their burst range and just sit there.
Yeah.
And just go, I don't want to do anything, because I don't know what you're gonna do right now, and I have nothing to work off of, so I will wait. And if you're like really not sure and they're not doing anything, then try to bait them and like retreat, use a reactionary window, give up that space, play from there.
I know something you also mentioned, use the empty movement to like bait out options like that.
And that's something that like Kome, for example, like that's something that he as a player is really, really good at. Is that sometimes he'll just be playing neutral and just go into speed and just move around. There's no intent behind it. It's just to move around to tempt people to try and interact with him. That's it. And it's not going speed with the intent like I'm gonna go run and hit you, right? It's just I'm just gonna move. That's it. It doesn't have to be deeper than that. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Nope, I'm cool with moving on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, see the moments like that where you just stopped and you went, okay, it is super not my turn. I want you to really start fishing and like looking for that moment so you know when it's your turn or not. So you're not just like trying to force your advantage state. Like that's really the big thing. It's like I think there are a lot of situations you're really good at realizing that, and you just have to keep exploring it further. That was so good
to initiate. Oh.
When you have what you use to initiate and like to hit people is like triggers, right? The 3 basic triggers that you look for as a player are is like mobility, so like dash, jump, and then like whiffing. The other thing that can allow you to initiate for free, as certain characters who have really good things on shield, are people shielding early within your burst range. Because then you get to hit their shield for free or mix up and tomahawk them. That makes sense? Because once someone shields early, they put themselves in a disadvantage if they're in your burst range, because they can no longer move freely outside of shield or like drop shield. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So what you have to look for when you're fighting X character is what can X character do at this range that lets me do that. So remember when I was telling you like this, you have to learn how far you can like whiff punish, grenade pull, and lob. It's the same idea where it's like if Lucina whiffs F tilt, how far away can I be for me to hit that? And you have to know that range so that you can confidently initiate or approach. Any other times you initiate is like if you're just confident that like this person is shielding a lot or whatever it is, like some sort of justification that you're like, I can get away with landing with this move for X reason, or their character doesn't have a tool to deal with this. It's like something that you can apply to that too. When you fight a character like Puff, huh?
I shouldn't guess on initiation.
No, never.
Like just for the sake of it.
Yeah, there's no reason to. Okay. Like your character does not thrive in that environment, so you shouldn't do it.
Right.
What your character thrives in is just a stalemate, genuinely. Because once you get the stalemate, you work around it, you play out the neutral interaction, and then you get the hit. You're so good at getting resets, and your combos are really good. And so you want to play off of that and use that to your advantage, instead of running at people and trying to fight them. Because Shulk can't do that. Yeah. He just can't. It doesn't work in this game if you're playing any other character that can.
So do you think, like, just from the little bit we're like talking about, do you think I just play too fast for my own good?
100%. Like, you play at like, you know, when you like in a video editor and you like put a video to like 180 speed and you laugh, like that's kind of how you play. It's like you're at 180 speed all the time, and you gotta like go to 80, bro. Like you gotta just stop and just sit there and look at people. Because I'm gonna gas you up a little bit. You're a smart kid. You get this game, like you understand it, but you don't sit there long enough to use that skill of understanding the game and your observation and your problem solving skills. You go, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna nair. And you're just thinking about yourself. And all you gotta do is sit there outside of Snake's burst range and go, oh, he wants to dash attack me. I see it. And then bait him to dash attack.
I need to simplify it further.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's not about you. You know everything. You know more about Shulk than I do. On God, you definitely do. All the little finicky things, you know all that stuff. You don't need to think about what do I do. You already know a lot of the answers. And you're smart enough to problem solve it in the moment if you do something wrong. So what you need to do is spend more time observing to find when it is time for you to fight, instead of just going for it when you're not sure what to do. That's really it. Because one of the things that happens too is like a lot of times you just like hard drift in with Nair because you're just like, I want to hit you with Nair. And it's not spaced. And then it's like, oh, snake down, there's a problem. But then when you space forward air and you just sit there and you look at him and he jumps and you swat him away. Every time you do that. So instead of just guessing that Nair, you just make it a non-factor that you never do that.
Remove the guessing factor. Exactly.
And it's gone. And then now, boom, consistency jumps 50% higher. Because now you're not doing that anymore.
Okay, so then that brings me to another question. Yeah. What does going second lose to?
People overshooting with really large burst ranges. So like characters like Fox, like Light is a really good player at that, where he'll like jump and then, or like dash, jump and then reach you, or mix that up, or he'll like run and then while running then dash attack you instead of like instant dash attack, where like people get mixed up by that. Cole is actually really good at that with dash attack with Snake as well. But that's really it, honestly. That's the thing where like if you're like just at the edge of the burst range, because it can be really hard. So like, even if you're at like the edge of dash attack, if he does like dash and like slightly stutters into the dash attack, if you're not like really close or really perfect and then you stuffing him out or then shielding in time to catch that, because you're kind of slower with like your startups, that can be hard, right? So what you have to do is identify if that person is overshooting and then bait them to overshoot and go even further back. Or if they're like really overshooting and like full hopping or anything like that, you like run underneath them, right? So like if someone is like jumping all the way in the corner with like a full hop as like Wolf or something like that, or Fox, you just go underneath them and just don't interact, right? Or like if like Chrom does that, it's like a great example where he like Chrom and Roy are really good at overshooting because they get so much momentum off of dash jump, right?
Yeah.
So what you do in that situation is that you just you either back up all the way, and like this is the thing that I've been teaching Cosmos too, is like if you're confident that they're gonna come and hit you and you know that you can swat them away still, but you don't have the space anymore because you're gonna be off stage, jump off stage and still swat them away and just commit to it, and that's totally fine because you're psyching them out from that creates like a mental thing where they're like, oh, they'll do that, that's kind of scary, and that can have value. Or even if you like jump up like this in the forward air, and then now you then can jump or like swap to jump and then mix up getting back on the stage and go from there, where you might not get like full advantage state, but you might get a neutral reset if he's at a high enough percent, or if it's at a low percent, you get another mix up to get out of disadvantage because you're already in like high pressure disadvantage, and now it's not as bad because you get the chance to swap to him in auto and you're not like, oh god, he's about to land on me.
Yeah, because that's something I acknowledge, is that the disadvantage of being in the corner is that you can't retreat.
Yes.
So that's your only avenue is to go off stage, and that puts you back on ledge. So that's something that would throw someone off who's trying to like purposely overshoot.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's like a thing where that now they're like, wait, oh, he can hit me. As well as just in general, you want to get better at calling people out who are overshooting and like stuffing them out, because you have the anti-airs to do that with up tilt.
Yeah.
You know, never forget that's that's your saving grace, that like once you like really get comfortable with using up tilt, because like we talked about last time, I don't know how much you've been working on it, and I'll let this play out a little bit more while we're talking, but I want to see you just sitting there and up tilting people, because like that is such an oppressive move that is like that's an equalizer for people, because it makes people extremely uncomfortable, because it can shut down an entire avenue of interacting.
Right. I just need to not do it preemptively, right?
Exactly. You have to get comfortable like through observing them and then finding, okay, this is like where and why they like to jump. And again, I think you're smart enough to do that. And you just have to sit there and spend a little bit more time to watch, because
I just need to slow down for my own good.
Yeah, because like watch this. Like you get him in the corner here and you're like, oh, he's shielded. But you forgot, like, oh yeah, he can roll, right? So you just went for it. And you're not going to be able to jump and land there fast enough. But you know already from all the previous interactions that he tries to get out of the corner really quick. So let him try to get out of the corner really quick and then punish that.
I'm going too fast.
Exactly. And it's just, it's applying to all these interactions, essentially.
I did want to ask, because you mentioned before we started talking about the overshoot thing, there was something you were like saying that I did really well.
Yeah. This reset with this nair back here. Where is it? I believe it's after this.
I believe it's here.
And after here, I think you mix them up. Yeah, so then you get the speed, so you get this nair, and then you realize I'm not gonna get a confirm here. It's gonna be really weird, right? And then you apply raw positional pressure after this, and then you see like, oh, I get this nair. Because watch, you're like the way that you pull yourself back to position shows that, where you go, oh, and then you get that spot, like that really, really good spacing. Because whether that hit him or hit shield, if he landed and shielded, theoretically, you were completely safe.
Yeah.
And he couldn't C4 during that, so it was okay.
I was in control of the situation.
Exactly. And that's the thing where you just got that raw hit and went, boom. Ooh, I didn't like react well enough to combo, but I reacted to the fact that I'm in an advantage state. Now I'm going to pressure you and then go from there. That's like the order of operations. Is like you have a branch, right? Where it's like, there's a couple different branches. So you hit someone, you don't react, and you're like, oh, scramble has now played out, right? For you at least. Or so if they didn't expect it, it's like a weird hit, then you're both in scramble, right? So you have that. Then you hit them, you react, you hit confirm, you hit your combo, blah, 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 right? Now you hit them, and you don't react fast enough to hit confirm, but enough that you can either then get the reset or like just apply pressure. That makes sense? Okay. Yeah, and see, there's like, you wanted to hit him so bad that you're like, oh yeah, wait, grenade is like a factor. And you're just hitting shield, hoping that you get to hit shield. But
when he was on that platform, should I just have backed off and just let it go?
Yeah, just drop down. And then if he tried to like challenge you here, because like watch what you could have done here, which is like actually really scary in my opinion. And I want to see you do this more, because you have jump here. What you could have done here is, instead of doing this forward air, because in that situation where he's on the ground, what you do is you just jump and pressure him, and then as you're landing, switch to jump, and then just sit. So you would switch to jump right here, and then you would just sit here and just pressure him. Because if he jumps,
because he has to make the first move to get off the platform.
And he's on a timer because it's a smash. It's the Town and City platform. And so if you learn the timers for that, that's something that you can use to your advantage too.
Right.
Why did you get grabbed there? Let me see that. Okay, blew that up, so that's not a factor anymore. Oh, okay, yeah. And see, like you were holding forward there, then you're like, ooh, grenade, and you got stuck, right? That's another example of like where you just went a little bit too fast. You might not have jumped all the way into him, but you still moved forward and you didn't like take in your surroundings of grenade. So that it's like you just needed to like in that moment just not interact with it, and then you get kind of reset into the situation. Go ahead.
So back to that scenario, I wanted to enter his burst range and then shield dash attack because that's what I felt was the most immediate threat. So then I get in there and then I'm worried about that. So then he comes up and grabs me. So I'm just I'm not sure what the right like thing would have been.
So the mistake that you made here was this. So watch. Once you run up, you actually guess, and I don't think you realize it because right here you grab, and he was nowhere near you. You like flinched really hard there, and what you needed to do here was jump and like grab this grenade, or like just roll away and take like a full reset.
Okay,
that makes sense. Because like the intent was good, it was just like the surroundings was not gonna play out in your favor. And then you flinched, which is like what gave that away, and you immediately lost control because you flinched.
Yeah.
And that's something you just, as annoying as it is, you have to react to getting hit by Nikita and like practice like right as it gets hit, just hold a shield. Like that's all you have to do. And then you get the non-wall jump tech, and then you have a really high chance of living after that if they're close to the That's a funny kill. It's like that. You just sat there and waited and it jumped, grabbed, died. Like, that's really good. And that I think taking that percent was a really good call. Because if you swapped there, you would have been in a really awkward position. And see there, like, you're jumping into him like that, and you don't need to be in because you nared instead of fared. Watch this. Like, this is a great example. Because you nair instead of fairing there, he gets to come close to you and box you. But if you fair there, he can't box you because he would get hit.
Yeah.
Make sense?
I think I worry about like proccing grenades with fair though, and like this matchup in particular. I know it's something in general.
You just got to do it sometimes and get a feel for it, because if you're gonna jump and fair, there's so much time in observing it and stuff like that you have to be comfortable like taking the hit if it happens. But like once you hit that, you have to get comfortable like reacting post fair. And I think in general, I think you're really good with nair, but I genuinely think you're not very good at reacting to if fair hits or whiffs or hits shield. Like, you're not hit confirming off of it at all usually. And it definitely shows a lot, and you gotta just...
Can we go back to when I got grabbed there? Because I noticed this set I got grabbed a lot because I'm worried about like dash attack, and I'm just wondering what is a like good answer or a good response to
so right
like...
here, you hit this fair. You have to react. Once you hit fair, you have to react to like, what is he doing out of shield or whatever, because he can't punish it true from that position, right?
Right.
So what you do is you have to like hyper focus on like what options he does have. So it's very similar to like ledge trapping, where it's like, okay, in shield, it's like he can drop shield and move. He can jump and do an action, or he can like grab, or if the character is like an up B or an up smash, right? Up B and up smash don't really apply here, but he can do them. But it would be like weird if he did, right? Dropping shield is like the very likely thing for him to do here, but it is the slowest option. A lot of people get psyched out by like if you remember like when everyone was really hyping up like drop shield, turn around, grab. It is a horrible option, but it works because people get psyched out by it.
Because it's a horrible option.
They think you're not going to do it. Yeah. So when you hit someone's shield, you just have to look and you can do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, right? Whichever one he sees. What you now have to lab is like, this is something you can go into training mode and like lab this, or like sit with like, you live with a Koshik, right?
I have the training mod pack.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Then you can practice like punishing this exact option. And like practice reacting to the different things of him jumping or rolling or whatever. And like if it's not a punish, then you get a reset and you keep applying pressure, right? And you just have to get better at reacting to like jump. You have to react to like, this is something that I grill people for a lot, and a lot of people argue with me on this, but I promise you can react to shield being let go. There's an animation. It's 11 frames. If you're anticipating it, that is more than enough time for you to react. Because when you're automatically, if you understand like these are all the options and these are already my answers for each option, right? You go in prepared for it. There's not thinking about it. You just see whichever one it is, and that's why you can react to it. And it has a very distinct animation because the entire color on the screen flashes away.
Yeah, it's a visual cue.
Yeah, so if he like, if you fair his shield and he drops shield, you just get to up B because it's the same spacing. That makes sense.
Yeah,
and like that's a hard thing you can build. Go ahead.
So what would have been a proper response to him doing this here?
Up B out of shield. That's your fast option. That or spot dodge if you're really ballsy, but that's still scary too, because if they bait that, like, it's not the best answer, but it is also technically an answer.
Yeah, that's also how I felt about air slash though, is that like missing that could have just resulted in death too. You
have to know when it's spaced well enough that you can immediately do it, or then in this situation too, he also dashes. So like you had two chances. Because he had to move to you. He didn't turn around grab. He dropped shield and dashed. See? Because he had to dash grab you. And dash grab is a little bit...
It's slower.
Slower, yeah. So that you have a lot to work with there. He still has a nutty grab. But like worst case scenario, you like traded with his grab. That's not that bad. Because you didn't get grabbed, thrown off, and get Nikita'd possibly. That makes sense?
Yeah,
because then you didn't get put in this situation as well as like a lot of times in this kind of situation I've noticed when you fight characters and like that make you uncomfortable is you just are trying to equalize by getting a neutral win from disadvantage, and you just need to like, if you remember when I told you last time we played, is like just go green and just go all the way across stage and like get away from them, or like just drift past him, because Snake isn't gonna be like, it's gonna be really hard for him to get up there and catch you without like a read, and so you just gotta jump, drift, and look at him and try to just not interact with him, or if he comes at you then swat him away. Make sense?
So yeah, on that same topic, for resetting, I've always wondered, is it like better to not do anything whenever I reset, or to throw out a like reach like a hitbox to cover myself?
It depends on the character, because if they can punish it, you should be doing it. But more times than not, I want you to practice doing it without throwing a move. Because like I said, you don't want to cover space. Because you're trying to cover space, you're stuck in an animation. That's what we have to get you comfortable moving and doing nothing. That's the thing that we need to like build. Make sense?
Right. Because I think I'm just worried about like resetting and then having a character just like blow me up with a dash attack.
If you're
For not
comfortable
having,
enough,
like, a
you can
hitbox,
yeah, you can stuff it out. But like that's the thing is, it depends on the context of the situation. Or a situation like this, you just need to drift. And if he chased you, you back air, and you try to stuff him out, or air dodge, or try to get away. Whatever it is, you know, there's no right answer, but there's a bunch of options that you had there to either interact or not interact, as long as you set yourself up with the best chance to win it, instead of just trying to like force it. Because he's gonna chase you and overextend. You can try to stuff him out. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Whether that's on the air or on the ground.
I do want to let more of this play out, so like I can like figure this out. So I'm gonna let you do more of the talking.
Oh,
on this,
okay. No, you're good,
game.
dude. Don't even sweat it.
Okay.
I'm glad you're asking a lot of questions and like making sure that you fully understand things. That's the best way to use this time.
No, I always have like a lot of questions about these kind of concepts, because I want to, because there's so many aspects to it that I need to like know what are like good substitutions and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna get C forward. Oh, yeah. Okay, he didn't realize it until late. Okay, that was a dicey situation where you got caught doing too much, and I don't know if you realized the C4 was there until right before it happened.
I knew it. That's why I ran off the platform.
Okay. Yeah, like just this situation in general is something that I want you to just specifically lab. Landing fair, reacting to their next option out of shield. Like, boom, right here, whether it's parry, whether it's a hit or whatever. Whatever they do, you have to get better at like playing that out.
Acknowledging that their next option
is something that you can deal with or get away from it. Because even if you just do landing fair, jump away, that's fine. Because you won't get hit. Unless they're like nutty character. Like ZSS flip kick. But you see how like situation like this where you were like so scared of dash attack hitting you that you just throw out fair, and you could have like, he didn't move. You just psyched yourself out here. If you sat and looked at him, you would have realized, oh, he's up smashing. I can just grab ledge, and then now I can't get mixed up anymore. But because you forwarded and then had to up B, you got super mixed up and got all your options covered and died. Because right here, it's like, oh, this sucks. And then he grenade, cover this, C4, and then you get baited and jumped into it. Yeah. A big thing you got to do when Snake starts like setting up is just jump back and just start over. If you keep trying to push, you're gonna get caught by like really, really aggressive like C4s. That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, even like here, it's like you do this nair and you're just trying so hard to get more. And this is an awkward hit that you get here after this. Where you hit this back air, you hit this nair, and you're like, ooh, let me just go for more. But that's an option that like you didn't even account for. That makes sense?
I think that's like, because like the philosophy that I go off of is that like, if I could throw out an option that covers a lot of options, that's okay.
No, it's not okay. That's what I want you to get away from. Right?
Yeah, that's something that I'm getting through this is that there is a lot of opportunity for me to react to take away the guessing.
Yeah, exactly. Because here it's like you could have grabbed them, you could have done so much here and got so much more reward instead of just filling in the space. Okay, there you go. That was really good. Okay, just get to the ground. Oh, you were a little late on that. You had the right idea.
I tried to do the thing, just stay on the ground.
Yep, and it's good. You see how much easier this is? Yeah. Be careful of C4. Oh, you had the read and you barely missed that, but you were like 100% in the right space there. That was completely justified. No problem with that.
Because I don't want to chase all the way up there unless it's immediate.
Yep.
So I felt comfortable like doing it at that point because it was low enough to the ground.
This is a funny thing that I've noticed now, is that when you have speed, you're comfortable with forward air because you can dash back. And you like react.
Where I feel like I'm prime as a player.
And so what we got to do is build it out where you do that same kind of ideas without speed. That makes sense?
Yeah. Because I do feel like I peak as a player in speed art.
I 100% agree. I think every single clip I've ever seen of you is with speed on.
Yeah.
Every like, oh dude, that was nuts, started with speed. 100%. This is good. Get down to the ground now. Yeah. Look at that. He totally makes himself. He did all this stuff, and he just sat there and went.
Yeah, I realized that like, there's all this taking out the guessing game, and then I can react.
Doesn't that feel so good when you hit that and you're like?
Well, it really did.
You just sit there and you're like, get.
Like I got to take out all the mumbo jumbo of up there, and got to just deal with it down there.
Dude,
and be in
it's the
control.
moments like that where you just go, I'm just better than you in this interaction. This is great.
Because I also remembered you saying like it's okay if you trade there, like especially in that scenario. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of was like, if we trade, it's okay because I'm gonna get to the ground before him. Exactly.
That's all that matters. Yeah. And that's really good. I'm glad that the things that I've been telling you this match have been sticking to you.
Mm-hmm. This is the first time I've had to like put it into practice. So this is really the rough draft for it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to play a bit again. I will tell you, I cannot play too much. And I forget if I explained this to you, but I currently can only do certain snake tech on my controller, but I play primarily Smashbox right now, so I'm still learning certain things. So we can do it like once every like other week at most, just so I don't hurt myself. But I'm definitely down to do that. But you can always play against someone like Egaz and just ask him to play Snake and just tell him if you're gonna do it, just schedule it so he can warm up a little bit if anything.
Yeah. I can do that.
But if I can get the confidence down with certain Snake tech on this, I think I'll be fine. We can play as much as you want.
I felt like I started playing this stock like well, and then I just.
And then right here you start guessing because you're like, I have to get this kill with Smash. If you get into Smash and you go, not gonna happen, just turn it off. And just get the reset timer happening faster. And this is a really common mistake that I think like literally every Shulk player does. And I think I've mentioned it to Nico before too, is like sometimes when people get smashed, it's like, you know, like red vision where people like bloodthirsty like crazy.
Yeah.
And they just fish. And like you just gotta get red and just sit there and apply 100%. Don't even apply physical pressure. Only positional pressure. Because if they make any mistake, they die. You don't have to commit. Yeah. You don't have to guess anything. In this moment, like this is such a great example. You get red here and you just... That back here, you just guess. All you have to do is just keep moving forward and go, press a button, press a button. Because even if you trade here, he's going to be in a shittier interaction. Because you're not going to die cross-screen dash attack at 159 on Town and City.
So what I'm guessing there, I'm like
that was really
spacing out.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a weird thing that I try to space my opponent out, like, while also approaching.
Yeah,
you know,
and
like,
you have to stop doing that because that's what gets you punished.
So what should I do in replacement?
Just move forward and with empty movement, whether it be dash, walk, run, jump, whatever it is. But you just have to stop throwing it out early like that because it let him get away completely. So if we go like all the way back here after
I also want to know, where did I mess up? Like
here?
Like should I have not went for the up tilt? Like what did I do right and what did I do wrong in this scenario?
So I think you went red a little early, but you had a really good confidence in this up tilt, which is fine, right? So that jump that you did there, you stayed in the air too long. You needed to fast fall, and you didn't fast fall until after you reached the peak of your jump because you were trying to get him to air dodge early, which like it's fine, but you already showed like I can just sit on the ground and get him. You already had confidence in that, where it made hitting that way harder. You also dashed and up tilted here instead of walking and up tilting. So you got stuck and you were way late on it. So that was fine. There's a really common thing that people do in Smash is that they bait people to roll by rolling. And it's like, remember I told you like that habit that all you guys have where you like have advantage or like pressure, and whether you get like a hit or you roll into people. And it's just not a good option. I just want you to delete it.
Okay.
I'd rather you held shield. Okay.
Okay.
Because once you rolled there, you were like whiff vortexing and you're just like, cover. And then you just got like nothing here. And you're just like trying to desperately do something where you could have
had... Isn't that like a term you also have, like shadow boxing? Or is that something else?
Yeah. I mean, the same idea. Like that's the whole thing is like you have to imagine like the space between you and like moving around what he could do and just apply that positional pressure. It's like that shadow boxing is exactly the idea. But you have to make sure that you're empty in a sense that you have any option available to you when you do it. And that's why doing that with like walking or like empty hops is really good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, you did the thing I told you to do. It's just like you don't know what to do. You don't want to get hit. Go on a jump. Love it. And then there he caught it, and that's okay. Remember, what you want to do in this situation differently is like once you get all the way into the corner like that, what you have to do is like, okay, what's the space that he covers here, right? So right after this, you jump straight up here, which is really good. But then you immediately landed and jumped. But what you had to do was when you jumped here, you had to double jump over him because you can't reach that. But when you landed and then you jumped like this, you see the trajectory, the problem with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do.
It's right into the back there.
Because you want to go around people. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. But I definitely think like this game you're playing way better. And a big part of it is because you've had enough time to start processing all this stuff. And like this is a completely winnable game in play now. But you got to treat it like first game. You got to just get the feel for them because it's going to be a little bit different every snake you play. This matchup blows. But you're a good enough player that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that was a problem I did struggle with for a bit, is that I thought about secondaries, but I always, like, it always boiled down to me telling myself, I'm like, it's definitely my fault.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my character. Like, it sucks, but, like, I've always been like, I'm not good at this matchup, and I don't know where I'm going wrong with it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is, like, I'll be blunt with you. If you're losing because of your character, I will tell you. Okay?
Okay.
Like, 100%, you can trust me to do that. And right now, you're not. At all.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Because I went through the entire phase of Smash 4 Shulk, and I pushed through Smash 4 Shulk.
I
mean, the biggest like growth I had was like not blaming my character for my losses, and it definitely pushed me like way further. So I don't try to do that in this game, but this is like the only character that really like pushed me in that sense. That really made me question like, is it me or my character?
Yeah.
But it definitely feels more like me. Like the more I look at it all the time.
Right now it's up. Yeah. Yeah, you see, like, the big thing that got you hit here, I'm going to replay this one more time, is because you're jumping in. And he got that read from you in the corner, and you kept making that mistake because you never processed, like, going in is why I'm getting hit. See? You died just for jumping into him.
So if I just stayed in the corner, I would have been fine?
Yeah, just sit there. Because he almost never mixed you up in the corner and, like, came after you. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't.
And, like, that's a really big thing. Is this 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5?
That was it.
Okay. And that's really the big thing is that, like, what you want to ask yourself when you're playing these characters that you kind of understand are players that you're trying to figure out is, like, where are they hitting me and why, right? And that's, like, that thing I was telling you. It's like, why did I get hit? And if the times that he's hitting you primarily is because you're doing something, just make it a non-factor. Stop doing it. And then see if he can solve the problem of how does he hit you. Because that's the big thing. Remember I told you, it's like, regardless of where you're positioned, if it's a neutral interaction, if you just sit there and he's just sitting there, hitting Shulk's hard. It's hard, dude. It really is. Because it's not as simple as just running at him. It doesn't work like that. Because his moves are huge. And up tilt, like, the reality is up tilt and down tilt exist. Like, they do. And you have to have confidence in, like, using that to your advantage. Granted, harder online, but the concept is there. So even if you're trying to do it and failing, what's important is that you're trying to do it. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So for, like, because I don't consider this a guess, it's like you said there's things like safe with punishing, and that's doing it from like a safe distance. Is that on like the outside of someone's burst range? To,
you like exit, you're doing it as you're exiting their burst range. So like, you know when Chrom does that thing where they like full retreating forward air or like landing forward air just to try and stuff you out in case you run at them, and then you run at them and you get jabbed? Yeah. That's what that is. Obviously, it's 100 times easier for him to do that, but for you, what you can do is like, especially if you're in like speed or if you're in like jump or something like that, it's really good to do because you have more like momentum control and stuff like that. But if you're not anything as well, you can just do like a really well spaced like at the edge or like once you're just outside of immediate burst range, you can do it because you have such a low landing lag that if they try to run at you with anything, you're fast enough to stuff them out or to then move again. Makes sense?
So I do have a question though about like burst range in general. For characters who have like projectiles, like Duck Hunt Can, Fire Arrow, what do I count those into burst range? Yeah,
you do. So like things like that, or like Wolf Laser and stuff like that, counts as their burst range. It's just like a different variable because it depends on if they get reward off of it, right? And like how fast it travels. So Charge Shot is like a great example of that. When Charge Shot is charged, when you are in mid range, if you jump and you get hit, it's your fault. Because once you're in mid range and they have fully charged Charge Shot, you can no longer react to it. And if you jump and they react, you die. Like that's just that's just the way it is, right? So what you have to do, not jump. When you're fighting against Fire Arrow, if you're dashing in Fire Arrow range and you get hit, it's your fault. Yeah. So you have to not dash around in Fire Arrow range. And that's just like you have hard rules that you set for when you're in range of projectiles. The faster it is, the harder that rule stands. That makes sense? Now where it gets funky is ones that like linger. So like can and like hydrant or gyro are great examples of that. Or even like ones that are slow. So like Belmont Axe is a great example of that. Or like side B with the cross.
Mhm.
Or like boomerang is another example of it, right? So it's that move is applying physical pressure and controlling space. It is covering space in a non-committal way. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So when or like T-jolt coming at you, right? What you have to do is, if it's coming towards you or in some capacity, is deciding what do I want to do? Do I want to try hit it? Can I? Right? If your character can. Or how do I get around it or go through it or whatever? There's not always a right answer. What you have to do is like be aware of where is this thing, this projectile, and where is the person. Can they do something about this? Are they coming towards me? Are they running away from me? There are times where like sometimes there's boomerang coming back at me, but my opponent's running away from me, and I just get hit by it. And I use it to bait them because they see the boomerang and they're like, oh, I can follow up, and they just try to like shoot a fire arrow, and now I get to take space easier because now they're stuck in an animation. And there's things like that once you get a little more confident, you can do that. But that's like really, really high level awareness and stuff like that's hard to do. But you want to work towards that as an idea rather than just like you see the projectile and you're like, I gotta hit him. Because just like with like nade pull and anything like that, you have to know when you can. And the worse the projectile, the slower the startup and the end lag is, the easier it is to do. But the more oppressive it is, like charge shot, the more careful you have to be about that. And like grenade.
And that's what I was gonna ask, is like for like charging moves, like shadow ball, charge shot,
Don't dash,
Robin
don't jump. That's it. That's the rule. Don't dash and don't jump. Don't whiff. If you do it, you get hit. Because what they're doing is a lot of times what people will do is they'll do the reactionary window. They'll jump back or dash back and then just hit the B button and charge it, right? And if you flinch, they hit you. Right?
So can I safely whiff outside of that range?
No.
To bait it?
It depends on the projectile, right? Charge shot, way harder to do that too than shadow ball, right? Because shadow ball goes slower. So it depends. You can try feel it out, and you can try fake them out into shooting it, right? That works. Or you can try jump backwards and bait that. Almost imagine like how you bait Diddy to throw banana. It's the same idea. It's just they can opt to not. And it's like more likely for them to not, depending on the person, if they're like proficient in that. Where like, for example, like Tweak, fighting his Diddy is so much harder than everyone else because he's so proficient in Z catch aerials, right?
Yeah.
So he can, so he can not throw banana and psych you out and like fake you out when you jump, right?
Like he can do an aerial or throw banana.
Exactly. And so that's a big thing that like throws people off. And so it's the same concept of charging a neutral B like that. It's just that he can stand there forever with banana. The charge doesn't end. Does that make sense? I know it sounds kind of odd.
No, I get it.
Okay.
Because like they have the choice to like take the bait or not take it.
Or like they choose to shoot or not. That's basically it, right?
Yeah.
And whether the not is like jump into a move or like shield and then do something or roll or whatever, right? That's what you're looking for. And it's how you go about finding that is just raw positional pressure and like walking. Because if you're doing like something where you're stuck in an animation and it's a really fast thing like banana or like charge on, stuff like that, you're gonna lose. Unless you're like really good at catching that item, if it's catchable, or like they miss. You like it's like I said, it's like you want to set these hard rules for like when you're fighting Samus and you go in mid range, you jump and you get hit, it's 100% your fault that you jumped. And like you just have to not jump. Like that's it. Because if you jump, you're just stuck. And you're a big enough character that you're gonna get hit by it. Because like air dodging is not like a valid option in that situation, especially if it's like a lasted thing. Because even if you directionally air dodge and it misses, they get to grab you and up throw you. And you
but what about double jumping?
If you have time to do that, that depends on your character, right? Because some characters double jumps are faster in acceleration than others. Yours is contextual because of Monado, but again, it depends on how close or how far you are and how fast that projectile works. So it's very much feeling it out in the moment. What you essentially have to get better at is just like moving around projectiles comfortably. And that applies to like grenade, charge aerials, all that stuff. Make sense?
So then I think, for other questions, like what should I do like moving forward outside of like, your resource? How do I identify problems of my own? Like whenever
I just want you to start with catching, like, why did I get hit? And if you are playing with one of the guys and you get hit and you have no idea, I want you to ask them why and just stop in that moment with the intent. Like they'll totally do that. They are all doing the same thing. That's everyone's homework is doing that all the time. And so what you have to do is now get that more self-awareness and get away from what do I do and just what are they doing. That's it. And even if like when you're playing, like just mute your mic and just talk out loud about what you're literally seeing, because you already know the answers most of the time. And so what you got to do is just be processing what they're doing and making decisions after you see it, like right after. Going second is like that thing that you need to work on. Make sense?
So that also brings me to a question of like, whenever something, let's say I get hit for like, they do an out of shield option and I just did my nair wrong, right? And it's like a lot of time I'll pin it on that's just me doing something wrong.
Well, what you have to do is go a step further back and go, why did I nair wrong?
Okay.
And if it was like, oh, I naired wrong because I just screwed up and I just accidentally drifted too far forward, or it was like, I think I was trying to hit him, then it's like, yeah, then you have to acknowledge that and go like, I have to stop trying to hit him in that kind of situation, right? And that's really the big thing. It's like, really, you have to, it's about really being honest with yourself. And this is where like having more people to keep you in check in those moments is really valuable, because there'll be times where you think you're not trying to hit them, but you actually are, because of the way that you're moving your character. So even if you're like, I'm not really trying to hit you, I'm trying to space, but you're still being too aggressive by your positioning, you're challenging them. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like I told you, like landing aggressively isn't just landing with a move. It's literally landing into somebody. That is landing aggressively. Once you enter that space, you challenge that dominance of that space, you're being aggressive. That's it. It's that simple. That makes sense?
It does, yeah.
And that's where it's like being really honest with yourself, where you have to get away from the like, this is what I was trying to do. What you were trying to do doesn't matter. It's what literally happened is what you have to take from that and just set it as stone. That's all that matters.
That's really good, yeah.
Because a lot of people like to make excuses.
Step back on what, because I think that's a really good way to capture it, because whenever I'm going over my own VODs, I know what I was trying to do.
But it doesn't matter,
I say,
you have to dissociate.
That is true, because when I'll look at something, I'll be like, oh, I tried to do this, I just messed it up doing this, I just need to do it better next time, and I need to disassociate what I was trying to do with what happened.
I want you to do this, okay? I want you to just... This is Shulk. Who this is does not matter. What is Shulk doing good and bad? What is this person doing about Shulk that's good and bad?
I need to look at it almost like I'm not even looking at myself.
Yep, that's it. You have to completely dissociate it from being you, because this is what people struggle with and why it's so hard for some people to watch VODs. Because they have ego, they think they know better, and blah, 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 whatever it is. And like, you're humble enough that like, I get, like, you know this, but it's something that like subconsciously, everybody's got a little bit of pride in something. And if you're like, I really felt like this was the right thing to do.
I can look at other people's and like do it because I don't know what they were thinking. I look at what happened. But whenever I look at myself, I know what I was trying to do and what happened. Like, I don't acknowledge on the what happened. Like,
it just doesn't matter.
Like, I need to look at
one of the biggest things I do when I play people, they're like, I'm trying to do this, and I'm like, that's cool. Like, that's it. Like, who cares? Like, that's like what I've told you. Like, there are times where I beat people with Snake because I'm just dash attacking. They're like, I'm trying to do this, and I'm like, that's cool. I'm just dash attacking you. I don't care what you're trying to do. I just know my dash attack wins. Exactly. Your intent does not matter at all, and you just have to look at like what is literally happening and play with that. And I think that's one of the reasons why you get kind of stuck too, is because you're thinking sort of about what you're trying to do and like making some of these decisions, like overthinking certain things, and you're psyching yourself out and that's what makes you like desperate to guess.
So that makes me want to ask, how much of the game is reactionary and how much of the game is like, where is there guessing? Because things like stuffing out jumps and things like that, you have to do that like preemptively, it feels like.
The reason why you're not actually doing it preemptively, because you're getting justification, you're anticipating it because of like justification. So it's like an educated guess, right? There's people like to guess instead of getting educated and then getting a read. And people like to use reads as guesses, and they're not. Reads are educated through conditioning or observations.
Yeah, like I said, through that, like stuffing a jump, it would be through something you've seen before in a scenario, and then when you go back into that scramble scenario, you have like information to go off of.
So there's no right answer to this, because it depends on the person you're playing. There's some people that you're going to play and you're going to have to react to as much as possible because they're being really conservative with what they do, or are mashing their heart out, right? Or it's the flip side where it's like you can just kind of do your thing because they're not comfortable against you. So it really depends. There's no right answer. But what you do is have to build your confidence in playing second more, because it's you're good enough at identifying when you can just like overwhelm people. But what you have to do is get better at just waiting. Okay.
And using like empty movement, playing
Mhm.
footsies, getting
Yep.
in and outside of a burst range.
Yep.
Because I see, because I've looked at layup VODs and I see how he does it. He dashes back like in a super tight fashion.
Yep.
To whiff punish consistently.
Yep.
Um,
And that's the
and I
thing that you
always
gotta
wonder
master.
like.
That's the
That's something
reactionary
that I
window.
always wonder though, is that something I can do with Shulk having slow frame data?
Yeah, you totally can, because you have a big enough move that doesn't matter. Because most characters
I
in this
can grab
game
up
have like large dashes or large commitment to like
Mhm.
moving. So just smack that. There's a lot of space to do it sometimes. And if you don't get the hit, you get immediate positional pressure. So you might not get the instant gratification that you're looking for, but you're still in control.
Mhm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will have to finish up there. If you have any other questions, just shoot me a DM. And then what I want you to do is go back and watch this VOD and take notes and then send me the notes. Okay?
Okay.
Alrighty, man. I will talk to you later. Have a good day.
Cool. Thank you so much. You have a
No
good night.